I'm so happy that you made it. So wonderful to be with you all. The Torah tells us, "Lo sikum v'lo sitor," not to take revenge and not to bear a grudge. Now, what kind of expectation is that of us? We're humans, we're not angels. If you were hurt, and if you were insulted, if you were castigated, maligned by somebody damaged you, somebody hurt your feelings, somebody offended you, of course, you're going to nurse your wounds, and you're going to want to take revenge, you're going to want to bear a grudge. It's a horrible thing to be taken advantage of and to be insulted. So how can Hashem expect us? What does He want from us? I want to share with you an amazing story. There was a fellow that went to the Chidushei Harim. And there was protocol. When you went to see the Rebbe, there was protocol. There was a line. There was a Rabbi there who enforced the rules and made sure that people didn't step out of line. Well, this guy, he had shtickle chutzpah, and he decided that he has to get to the front of the line. And no matter how much the Rabbi told him, you got to go back. There are people waiting. There's protocol. There are rules here. The guy didn't care. And the guy went ahead and he cut the line. The Rabbi was infuriated, obviously, and the Rabbi said to him, "You're not allowed to do that. You have to go back on your place." And the fellow went ahead. He took his hand and gave a zafrask. He gave such a slap to the face of the guy. He slapped the Rabbi right in the face with a stinging sensation. How painful. Oy, oy, oy. The Rabbi was never crying in pain. Nobody told the Rebbe what happened. But this guy went into the Rebbe. Obviously, there was a commotion behind the door. The Rebbe presumably he didn't know what happened. But yeah, of course, the Rebbe's a Rebbe. He knows everything. And the Rebbe, of course, was able to sense what happened. He said to the guy, he says, "How could you do what you did? What's the matter with you?" And the guy said, he said he and his wife were childless for so many years. He said, "My wife is making me meshuggah. She won't let me rest. She said, you have to go to the Heilige Rebbe, go to the Chidushei Harim and get a bracha. You can't come home otherwise." He said, "I had to get the bracha." The Rebbe said, "You have to apologize. You got to apologize to the Rabbi. You got to be mafayis him. You got to pacify him. You got to make him feel better." And the guy went to the Rabbi and he tried to apologize. He said, "I'm sorry." And the Rabbi said, "I want to go see the Rebbe." And the Rabbi went in with the guy to the Rebbe. And he said to the Rebbe, he says, "I will not be moichel him. I will not forgive him unless one condition is met." Can you imagine now? How much latitude and leverage this guy has. He could ask the Rebbe for anything. The Rebbe wants shalom, obviously. He could ask the Rebbe for anything. I'm sure the Rabbi had many personal issues and problems that he needed Yeshuas for. He says to the Rebbe, "I'll be moichel this guy who slapped me barabim, was mavayish me barabim in front of everyone under one condition." The Rebbe says, "Yes, what is it? I want you to give this fellow, Rebbe, you should give this fellow a bracha that he should have a child within the year." Wow. Wow. Now, of course, I don't think any of us are on that level. But listen what the Zohar HaKadosh says. The Zohar says in Parshas Miketz that there was a guy that was sitting on a rubble, on a heap of stones, and he was dozing off. Little did he know that there was a snake that came, a poisonous, rabid snake that came and was just about to bite the fellow. When all of a sudden, with total synchrony, just as the snake was opening its mouth, a branch fell from a tree and clobbered the snake, killing the snake. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was Rabbi who observed this, and he was mamish incredulous. Wow, what time? Why was the guy zocheh? And just as he was thinking about how was the guy zocheh to such a thing, An avalanche came, and the guy was miraculously spared. 2 miracles back to back. He ran to the guy and he says, I don't even think you know what happened. You're very, very, very special. You were protected. Tell me a little about yourself. And he discovered that this guy was ridiculed, harassed, tormented, but never took revenge. He was peaceful and kind to everyone, no matter what the situation, no matter what the circumstance. And he told the guy, he says, I want you to know that Rabbi Shalom gives special shmira, gives special protection to those who are able to forgive, forget, and not take revenge and not bear grudges. It's a special shmira. That even if they're in the most precarious situation and they're really endangered and in peril and tremendous jeopardy, they're protected. Rav Aryeh Levin, the tzaddik of Yerushalayim, the father-in-law of Rabbi Yashiv Zatzal, said that there were two incidences in his life that made a major impact upon his life. The first was when he was a young man in Europe. The Chafetz Chaim came to the shul that Rav Aryeh Levin was davening at. And the Chafetz Chaim noticed that at the Amud, where the Shilach Tzibur davens from, it has Shalvisi Hashem L'negdei Saman, and it spelled out Hashem's name. And he saw the wax was dripping and it would erase Hashem's name. And he went to the Shamash in charge and he said, why don't you correct that? It's erasing Hashem's name. And the Shamash said, yeah, I would correct it, but I want you to know that the president of the shul named, and he was just as about to name the guy, the Chafetz Chaim said, Lashon Hara. And the Chafetz Chaim was holding the books, the Sfarim, that he sold for money, for profit. That was his parnasa. And as he heard Lashon Hara, he didn't want to hear it. So he was in such a tremendous commotion that he dropped his Sfarim, ran out, and never came back. Rav Aryeh Levin saw that. He saw that, how much the Chafetz Chaim recoiled, how repulsive Lashon Hara was to him, what an anathema, how antithetical it was to his whole psyche, to his whole body, that he just couldn't stomach it, that he heard something that was about to be Lashon Hara, that he dropped his parnasa and he ran. Rav Aryeh Levin said that made such an imprint upon him, he couldn't talk Lashon Hara after that. One time, the Rav Aryeh Levin was at a levaya for somebody very, very precious to him. A colleague of his was a big tzaddik. He died young, tragically, Rahman al-Islam. And there was another Rav there. And as they were beloved with the mace, they were mamash being malad, they were escorting the coffin. Rav Aryeh Levin notices that his friend, a very chashuv person, very distinguished person, on the way, there was a floral shop. And the guy ceremoniously leaves the funeral, walks into the floral shop and then walks out with a plant. What's going on? So Rav Aryeh Levin was like just mortified. He says, how could he do that? Torah says, if you see somebody doing something wrong, and you have, by the way, not everybody's allowed to correct or reprove somebody. There are very, very strict laws, whether you're eligible, whether it's appropriate for you to even be the person to reprove or chastise or berate, correct somebody. You may not be the qualified one, but Rav Aryeh Levin certainly was. And he went up to the fellow and he says, it's so unbecoming of you. You're in the middle of a funeral, like how it's so inappropriate, so uncharacteristic. Why? And the guy said, I want you to know that right before the funeral, I was in the hospital where somebody I was visiting had a communicable, contagious illness. And therefore they had to dispose of all his possessions. And he had tefillin. They were going to throw out the tefillin. And I begged them. I tried to intercede. I said, what can I do about that tefillin? And I said, the tefillin, you got to find earth. You got to find a potted plant to put the tefillin, to bury it. And they gave me 1 hour, and the hour is about to lapse and expire. Rav Aryeh Levin said, it was at that moment that it was concretized in his mind, have he done his kol adam l'kav schus, to give a person the benefit of the doubt. We're living in very frightening times, very, very scary times. Just the other week, people walking in Toronto are suddenly victim to this van that goes on the street, on the curb, and just plows down, mows down innocent people. A guy was just randomly attacked in Brooklyn because he's Jewish. We're living in very frightening times. We all need shmira. We all need protection. We all need divine protection. And how do we get that protection? By going against our nature. Hashem created us with the nefesh behemoths, animalistic tendencies. Yeah, we got a nefesh, a neshama lukus, we got a divine soul, which makes us able to eclipse and ascend and aspire and climb the highest, most loftiest goals. But we got that other part of us that bogs us down. And that makes us vindictive, that makes us petty, and that really, that gives us an element and a characteristic that we don't want, that we shouldn't be. Only thing we have to do is to work on ourselves. The Vilna Gaon says that the whole entire point of being a Jew is Latikon Midos Bavad, is for character improvement, to refine our crash traits. We all got crash traits. We've all got egos. We've all got some kind of imbalance. And we're here to improve, to be as peaceful and kind as possible, to go out there in the street and to have wonderful interactions and encounters with people, even if we don't like them so much, but to be better than others. To try to be kind and sweet and peaceful. And in that schus, be'ezras Hashem Yisparach, we will be protected from all harm and calamity and suffering.